What if the forest didn't want to kill you, but wanted you to remember? What if every step forward dragged your worst mistake closer to the surface? The ritual doesn't open with monsters or ancient symbols carved into trees. It opens with hesitation. A moment where fear wins. And that single moment becomes the heartbeat of the entire story. Hello, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into The Ritual, not as a typical horror movie, but as a slow-burning psychological descent, wrapped in ancient folklore and modern guilt. This is a film where the terror doesn't come from what's chasing the characters, but from what they're carrying with them. Grief and cowardice, unspoken blame. As for friends, hike through a Scandinavian wilderness to honor a fallen friend. The forest becomes something far more dangerous than a maze of trees. It becomes a mirror. Every wrong turn reflects a buried truth. Every night strips away another layer of denial. This isn't folklore as bedtime mythology. This is folklore as judgment, as consequence, as something old enough not to care whether you believe in it or not. The ritual asks a disturbing question. When faced with unbearable fear, do you survive by fighting or be signaling? And if survival demands surrender, what part of yourself do you lose forever? Tonight, we're unpacking how the ritual turns ancient myth into psychological punishment, and why its horror doesn't end when the movie does. The story of the ritual begins long before the forest. In a liquor store, all soaked in fluorescent light and indecision, where one man chooses safety over loyalty, and that choice fractures everything that follows. Tis momentis inti Josba storiet es the emotional infection that spreads into the woods with them. When the friends set out on their hike, they believe they're honoring the dead, but in truth, they're running from the living consequences of guilt. The forest they enter feels wrong almost immediately. Not because of overt danger, but because it refuses to behave like a neutral space. Paths vanish. Landmarks repeat. Time stretches and compresses. This isn't a place designed to be navigated. It's a place designed to test. Folklore in The Ritual doesn't exist to explain the monster. It exists to explain the punishment. The creature they encounter isn't hunting randomly. It's selecting, observing, feeding on weakness, shame, and the desire to escape responsibility. Each character responds differently to fear, and those differences matter. Some lash out, some deny reality. Some cling to logic like a life raft, and one, burdened by the heaviest guilt, begins to break in ways that feel personal, almost intimate. The forest amplifies what's already inside them. Hallucinations blur with memory. Dreams bleed into waking life. And slowly, the external horror becomes less frightening than the internal reckoning. The monster itself is revealed not as a traditional predator, but as an ancient god demanding worship through submission. This reframes the entire narrative. Survival isn't about strength or intelligence, it's about surrender. Kneel and live. Resist and suffer. That bargain forces the protagonist into a moral crossroads far more terrifying than any physical threat. To live by bowing is to accept a life defined by fear and self-betrayal. To resist is to risk death, but reclaim agency. When the final confrontation comes, it isn't triumphant. There's no victory music, no sense of closure. The scream into the forest isn't defiance, it's release. A refusal to be owned by guilt or gods. And yet, even in survival, there's no peace. The forest doesn't chase him out. It watches him leave. The implication is chilling. Some trials don't end when you escape them. They mark you. The ritual understands that real horror, ISNT, being hunted it, S being judged by something that knows exactly who you are and offers you a future only if you willing to abandon yourself. When the screen fades to black, the ritual doesn't give you relief, it leaves you with a weight. A question that lingers longer than the monster ever did. Did he escape the forest? Or did the forest simply let him go? That uncertainty is the film's final quiet cruelty. Because folklore, in its oldest form, was never meant to comfort. It was meant to warn. And the ritual feels less like a story you watched and more like a warning you overheard. It suggests that guilt doesn't disappear when you outrun it, and survival isn't always synonymous with freedom. Some gostonti need followers. They need witnesses. And now, so are we. If this breakdown made you see the ritual differently, if it made the forest feel a little closer than before, then you know this story isn't done with you yet. Horror like this doesn't scream, it waits. If you found this worth watching, please like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, would you kneel to survive, or stand and face whatever comes next? Until the next descent into the dark, this has been When Folklore Turns Foul. Narrative depth in the ritual end. The forest is still watching.